Hey, what's up, people? This is Jose from Jose Likes Fishing. If you like to fish in Florida, you might like this video. And if you are into collecting Oscar fish, if you are an Oscar fish enthusiast, this video could also interest you. I know one of us is out there to catch the fish, and another one is out there to put it in an aquarium and say it's beautiful. Hopefully this video we can kind of like meet together and agree to disagree. So here's the video. This is an Oscar fish that I caught wild in Florida, and it is now in an aquarium, and I hope that the rules that I am understanding are correctly, because these rules here in Florida regarding fish, especially non-native fish, one police officer or wildlife agent tells you you're allowed to do this, the other one says you're not. Very complicated. Let's try to make some sense of it all. Leave your comments and your opinions. Let's watch the video. So I uploaded a video about 3 months ago where I went out fishing for Oscar fish, and I was hoping that the intended audience would be people who fish. However, YouTube is a magical place where sometimes your targeted audience is not actually the audience who will pick up on a video, and instead of fishermen picking up on my video, people who are aquarium enthusiasts picked up on my Oscar fish video, and they were not happy that I handled the Oscar fish the way aquarium people think Oscar fish need to be handled. And even though the things they said were really bad, I don't blame these guys for being mad at me. If I wanted to see a fish and I saw a butcher, I wouldn't be happy. So with that said, I got some very negative reviews and hate comments on that video, which helped YouTube understand my video was popular, which made YouTube suggest my video to people who had Oscar fish enthusiasts, which just made the whole situation a whole lot worse, because now a bunch of other people who liked Oscar fish saw my video, and basically I got some very hateful comments from people who are Oscar fish enthusiasts, people who are into aquarium keeping of the fish. And a legal issue arose, so we're going to answer that question. Now, the understanding is that here in the state of Florida, the Oscar fish is a non-native fish. That means it doesn't belong here, and the reason it was introduced to Florida is because of aquarium keepers who released their Oscar fish back into the wild, and now we have a very large Oscar fish population that doesn't belong here. And there's a giant misunderstanding of what you're supposed to do with a fish that's not native. The understanding a lot of people have is that if you catch a non-native fish, you have to keep it, which means if you're not going to take it home, then you have to kill it. And that's the mindset that I had, that other fishermen taught me. So I decided to call Florida Wildlife, and I recorded the conversation, but they won't let me share the conversation. So I'm just going to paraphrase what they told me over the phone, and that way I can communicate with you guys the actual rules and regulations. Because my understanding was that because the Oscar fish were not native to Florida, that I had to keep them. And there are Florida wildlife officers out there who want to make you believe that, because if you keep the fish and kill it, then that's one less invasive fish they have to worry about. However, we made the phone call to Florida Wildlife, and after being on hold for a long time, getting phone calls back and forth, we got the right information from the state of Florida. And this is what the state of Florida says regarding Oscar fish. Now, this phone call and this information is actual as of 5/19/2017, which means that if you see this video at a further date, those regulations may have changed. But as of 5/19/2017, these are the regulations that the state of Florida told me regarding what you are allowed to do, what you are not allowed to do when you catch an Oscar fish. And again, the polemic issue here became that I caught the fish and kept them, and that offended aquarium keepers who believed that I should have released the fish. I would have released. I don't want these fish, to be honest. I would have released them. I don't want to kill a fish. I don't want to keep it. I fish for sport. I wanted to release it. However, I was afraid that I had to keep it because of misinformation. And actually, not even the officers that I called when I made the phone call, knew the information. It took a while to actually get the right information, so let's get right to it. This is what the state of Florida Wildlife Conservation said regarding keeping Oscar fish. Let's get right to it. And again, I'm going to paraphrase this because I do not want, actually the Florida Wildlife people do not want their voices to be recorded. So here we go. No law require you to keep the fish. You have the right to release the fish. Legally catch the fish with a license, which means if you're out fishing for Oscars, you are not making any gear violations, you have a license to fish freshwater, and you do not break any other regulations in the process of catching your fish. You have the right to release the fish. You can take a photo. If you on the spot, immediately after catching the fish, decide to release the fish, Oscar fish, you have the right to release it. Once you possess the fish, it is yours. You cannot re-release back into the wild. How long you keep the fish would consist possession. So if you have the fish for a little bit and you put it back in the water, it's okay. If you have the fish for a long time, at some point it is considered possession. That means if you take it home with you, if you catch an Oscar fish, you take it home with you, you are now possessing the fish. You have to keep it. You can take it home and put it in your aquarium, and that's exactly what we did here. We took the fish home, put it in an aquarium, and now this wild Oscar that was invasive is in an aquarium as a pet. Now that it is a pet, it has to remain a pet. It cannot be reintroduced into the wild. Florida Wildlife Conservation would prefer you kill the non-native fish, but they cannot mandate you keep it or kill it. If you want to release it as soon as you've caught it, we prefer you remove it, but you are not going to be prosecuted if you decide to release the fish. Transportation can be tricky, but you can release it if you don't want it. In other words, if you're catching the fish and moving them from place to place, you could run into some trouble. But if you catch it and take it home, now it's yours to keep. You cannot re-release it. In other words, it all comes down to possession. Once you possess the fish, you have to keep it. But if you catch it on the spot, take a picture, put it back in the water, that fish, you are not obligated to kill it. You are not obligated to keep it. The fish can be released, or you can keep it. So going back to the people who I offended with that video, if I could go back and have the correct knowledge on what the state of Florida actually required, I would have caught the fish, the beautiful ones, the nice colored ones. I would have kept them, and as you can see here, the ones that I caught today, I caught 2 of them I decided to keep, and they're now in an aquarium where a young 16-year-old boy is now an Oscar enthusiast, beginner level, because he just got them and he's going to have these guys as pets. So now I helped create a new Oscar fish enthusiast. So this young man is having Oscar fish for the first time in the United States. He had them in a different country, but now in the United States we have one more new Oscar fish enthusiast as of today, because I hooked him up with the fish, and here you can see them in his aquarium. Now I know that a video that maybe you thought was about Oscar fish that you have as a pet, and you see a fisherman butchering the fish, can be kind of offensive. I understand the nature of the fish, they're friendly. That's why they became popular as an aquarium fish, and that is what led to the situation that we have in Florida where our ecosystem is invaded with these fish. Now, this is just to make things fair with the Oscar fish enthusiasts, because obviously you came to see a video about Oscar fish, and what you got was a video of a fisherman butchering fish. So that's not what I did not intend you to be the audience. Somehow YouTube made you the audience, and now I end up with a lot of angry people. What I want you guys to understand is that now I have this understanding of the law, no more misconceptions. So I will consider, when I catch a beautiful Oscar, keeping it and giving it to somebody so they can start being an Oscar fish breeding enthusiast. And if you are a fisherman, now you know, if you catch a fish and you don't want it, you're not required to keep it. So I think this makes everybody happy. I think the Oscar fish is a beautiful fish for an aquarium. As you can see here, it's a beautiful fish. It's not meant to be in Florida. So if I were to go out there and catch a bunch of them and kill them, even though it would be a kind of a nasty thing from the enthusiast point of view, you have to understand these fish are extremely aggressive and they are completely destroying the natural ecosystem that we have here in Florida. So if somebody wants to catch these fish and just part with them, actually the ones that I caught, I gave them to somebody who ate them. I cannot eat this. I'm sorry, I cannot eat them. I gave them to a friend who ate them. And I know that sounds horrendous to somebody who has an Oscar fish as a pet, but again, they don't belong in Florida in our canal systems. They belong in aquariums or in their natural habitat somewhere in South America. They're very destructive here in Florida, and they don't belong here. They're harming. If you love fish, let's say you're a fish enthusiast and you love fish, well, these fish that are in our canals here in Florida are being massively outdone by these Oscar fish. They eat everything that hits the water. I mean, I could go out fishing and catch 3 bass, or if I put on a lure that catches Oscar fish, I would catch 50 to 80 Oscar fish, which means that they're massively overpopulated. They don't belong here. They're too aggressive for Florida. And that's another problem with a lot of these invasive non-native fish that we have. Some of the tilapia, the Oscar, and also the catfish, or the whatever the alien-looking catfish we have down here is. You go to the water, you can see the bass, you can see the garfish, you can see all the native Florida fish, but you don't see a lot of the non-natives. However, you throw a cast net in the water and you pull them out. You throw a lure in the water and you catch them, which means that they're just a lot more aggressive, and they have a different, like a jungle mentality, the way they hunt, the way they are, and they're just very destructive to our Florida ecosystem. So I want you guys who are fish keepers to also understand that your beautiful Oscar fish is very destructive. It belongs in an aquarium, or it belongs in the wild in its native habitat. It does not belong in a canal because it destroys the ecosystem. So I hope I made justice to everybody, and I think this little goldfish that this kid had in there may not last long. So thank you for watching the video. Just keep in mind, guys, this information is based on what this officer that I spoke to on the phone told me. If you're not sure, call them yourselves and see what version of the story you get, because I have found a trend between these officers where each individual interprets the laws and regulations to their own like or their own personal opinion. So if you're not sure, go out there and confirm the information. You've got the phone number in the video. Call the Florida Wildlife before you go out and do this, to make sure that your district, your area where you live, the police officers or wildlife officials in your area understand the law the same way this guy did, because for some reason they don't all think the same way. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.